All right, let's talk about something that's absolutely critical for anyone working in the cloud today, cloud FinOps. In other words, how you can finally get a handle on that ever-growing, kind of scary cloud bill.
So let me ask you, does this feel familiar? Your cloud budget feels like a total black box. You know money is going out the door, but trying to figure out exactly where it's going, and more importantly, why, it feels like you're trying to solve a mystery, right? Well, you are definitely not alone, and that's exactly what we're going to crack open today.
Look, there is no denying it. Cloud platforms are amazing. AWS, Azure, GCP, they give you the power to build and scale things you could only dream of a decade ago. But let's be honest, that power is also powerfully expensive. And that price tag can get out of control fast if you're not paying attention. Okay, so first up, Section 1, the runaway cloud bill. This is the thing that keeps so many people in finance and engineering up at night. How on earth does it happen so quickly?
Well, it almost never starts as one single giant mistake. It's all these little things, right? A test cluster left running over the weekend, data being ingested without any limits, storing raw data forever without thinking about it. Each one is just a small leak, but all those leaks add up, and before you know it, you're dealing with a financial avalanche. It is truly death by 1,000 cuts.
So, how do you stop that avalanche? You need a control system. And that brings us to Section 2, which is FinOps. Think of this as your command and control center for cloud costs.
So what is FinOps, really? At its heart, it's pretty simple. It's the combination of finance and DevOps. It's a cultural shift, a whole new way of thinking that brings financial accountability directly to the engineering teams. It empowers them to make smart, cost-conscious decisions as they're building.
And the whole process follows this really logical flow. It all begins with visibility. You can't control what you can't see, simple as that. Once you know where the money's going, you can move on to optimization, making everything more efficient. From there, you bring in automation to handle all the repetitive tasks, and finally, you wrap it all up with governance, which is just setting the rules of the road to keep everything in check for the long haul.
All right, so that's the theory. Now for the fun part. Section 3 is your core savings playbook. This is where we get into the practical, actionable stuff you can do to start saving money like today.
Just understanding these levers is a total game changer. Take spot instances. You're basically using the cloud provider's spare compute capacity, and you can slash your costs by up to 90%. For any non-critical job, it's a no-brainer. Or tiered storage. Why would you pay premium prices to store old data you barely touch? Automatically moving it to a cheap archive tier is such a massive and easy win.
Now let's get even more specific. We're on to Section 4, strategies for AWS, Azure, and GCP. Because even though the principles are universal, the names of the tools and services are different on each platform, and you gotta know what you're looking for.
If you're on Team AWS, these are your go-to moves. For storage, you absolutely have to be using S3 lifecycle rules to push old data into Glacier. It's unbelievably cheap. For any big data jobs on EMR, using spot instances is non-negotiable. And a huge one, auto shut down your Glue and EMR clusters. Don't just let them run and burn money after the job is done.
Now, over in the Azure world, the game is very similar. You have to check out Azure Advisor. It's fantastic because it literally tells you where you can save money with personalized recommendations. And Azure Policy is a lifesaver for governance. You can actually set up rules that prevent a developer from accidentally spinning up some monster high-cost machine in a dev environment. It's a fantastic safety net.
And for you Google Cloud pros, it is all about efficiency, especially in BigQuery. Simply partitioning and clustering your tables can make your queries way faster and dramatically cheaper. And just like the other clouds, GCP has its own version of cheap, temporary compute. They're called preemptible VMs. It's the same idea, and it's a key strategy for keeping those Dataproc and Spark job costs under control.
And this slide really nails it. The concept, archiving cold data, it's the same everywhere. The only thing that changes is the name of the service. On AWS, you use rules to move data to Glacier. In Azure, it's the ADLS archive tier. On GCP, it's Cloud Storage Lifecycle rules. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that you understand the principle, then you go find the right tool for your platform.
Okay, so you've got the strategies, but how do you actually implement them and monitor them to make sure they're working? Well, you need the right tools. So let's get into Section 5, the FinOps Mastery Toolkit.
So first off, every cloud gives you some really powerful native tools right out of the box. AWS Cost Explorer, Azure Cost Management, these are your starting point. But for even more firepower,
Especially in complex setups with Kubernetes, the open source world is amazing. Tools like kubectl and Cloud Custodian can give you super granular control and automate your governance policies.
And here's what it looks like when you put it all together. Imagine an ETL job starts running. Your monitoring tools are watching the cost in real time. If the cost spikes, a budget alert fires off automatically. That alert can then trigger a script that either right-sizes an over-provisioned machine or just shuts down a resource that's no longer needed. This closed-loop, automated system, that's the heart of FinOps in practice.
So, to wrap up the practical side, these are the golden rules. These are the habits you have to build. Always use efficient formats like Parquet or ORC. Always delete temporary storage. And please, for the love of all that is holy, tag your resources. If you don't know who owns something, you can't ask them why it's costing so much money. These are not suggestions. They're essential for a cost-efficient culture.
And this is really the most important takeaway of all. I want you to remember this quote. Your data platform must not only be scalable, it must also be financially sustainable. It doesn't matter how incredible your architecture is. If the cost of running it puts the company out of business, it has to be sustainable.
And why does this matter so much to you? Because this skill is a massive career booster. Being a great engineer today isn't just about building things that work. It's about building things that work sustainably. Companies are desperately looking for engineers who get this, who can balance performance with cost. Understanding FinOps makes you incredibly valuable. Period.
So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. You have the playbook now. You've seen the common mistakes, and you've seen the powerful strategies to fix them. So, what's the very first piece of low-hanging fruit you're going to tackle in your own cloud environment? What's the first cost you're going to cut? Now go make it happen.